The backlight is a very simple on with 3 levels. Of course, the higher levels do use a little bit more battery life, but the MXT and MXT Pro run 20 plus hours on a set of 8 AA, so it doesn't cost you a lot. About 15% at the low setting, about 30% at the high setting, reduction in battery life, but that helps you to see the display in low light conditions. Of course, 0 is off, you have level 1, 2, and 3, and then it just cycles back to off again. So that's the light bulb as your backlight. Ground grab is a feature that works very closely with your track control. What can happen is if you have to lock your ground control for a peculiar area, once in a while you'd like to update that setting. The MXT will monitor the ground, but it's not going to track in the lock setting. Pressing grab from the lock setting updates the ground balance to what the tracking says it should be. So in other words, to what it would have been if you'd have been in ground or salt the entire time. So from the locked ground setting, grab updates the ground balance. From the ground or salt position, holding grab locks the ground tracking. Now that's significant because the ground balance and tracking is so aggressive on MXT, if you're sweeping over a weak target repeatedly, tracking will begin to think that that's part of the ground and it'll try to track it out. So if you have a very weak or very soft target and you want to sweep it several times and analyze the display regardless of what mode you're in, you can just hold grab and it's going to hold the ground tracking setting stable, and you can sweep that target repeatedly and the ground tracking is not going to tune it out. So grab holds the ground balance setting for ground or salt, so you can sweep a weak target multiple times without error, and from the lock setting it updates it to your current tracking level. We're excited to bring these new advantages to the MXT. I think they are significant and I think they're going to be a big help, and they're the next obvious evolution of the MXT success. Weiss has a number of accessories available for the MXT, which makes hunting a whole lot more fun and easier. Of course, a good digging tool is one of the main necessities you're going to need with the metal detector. Pouches to keep all of the stuff you're finding in. Variety of digging tools. A pinpointer saves you a lot of time and effort. Again, checking the plug to see if it's in the flap or in the hole or in the pile of dirt that you put in your drop cloth. Very handy tool. Quality headphones, a big plus. There is not a volume control on the MXT, so a headphone with its own separate volume control is a really good idea. One of the more significant performance aspects of a metal detector are the size of the search coil. Again, the bigger the search coil, the deeper it penetrates, but the tougher it is to use around targets that are very close to one another, harder to separate. In extreme trash, like a parking strip between the road and the sidewalk where you have a target every few inches, a very small coil like the Eclipse Shooter DD, excellent. You can find a lot of silver that people have left behind because they didn't want to deal with all that trash close together. Slightly less trash areas, some of your parks, the 6-inch loop is a big plus. It's very handy, very isolated signal. The round coil is a little different than the egg-shaped or elliptical coil. Again, a very valuable accessory. The D loops, the 6x9 and the 10-inch DD have advantages in prospecting. D coils definitely have a better ability to reject extreme grounds just by plugging them in and using them. The 6x9, very popular for prospecting with the MXT and MXT Pro. The traditional 9.5-inch size gives you a little better separation in trash, but again, the bigger the loop, the deeper it goes, so as you can use bigger coils, that's definitely the way you want to go. And then the 10-inch double D is the largest of the D coils, very handy in extreme grounds. The D coils do tend to cover more ground per pass because you've got a detection field along the center line, so you have more of a windshield wiper effect covering more ground per pass, whereas a traditional concentric coil tends to center into a spot in the center as it gets deeper into the ground. Again, DD loops have a line along the center they detect. Concentric coils tend to center in a spot. Search coil covers or scuff pads, great idea, particularly if you're hunting rough grounds or sandy grounds. It's just like sandpaper. You're going to wear a hole in the bottom of that coil eventually, so a cover or a scuff pad's a really good idea, particularly for rough grounds, and there is a loop cover for every loop that White sells. Again, the MXT and MXT Pro are very battery friendly, 20 plus hours, easy on a set of 8 AA's. But if you want to go with rechargeables, White's offers two options for the MXT and MXT Pro. There's the traditional NiCad battery, has the overnight or trickle charge or fast charge option, and NiCads are pretty economical to use. White's also has the nickel metal hydride systems, a little more expensive, a little longer per charge, and it's just a little later technology in the nickel metal hydride rechargeable systems. To make rechargeables pay, you really got to use it a lot. And we're not talking about once a month, we're talking about often. The more often you use it, the more the rechargeable batteries will pay you back. And to keep it all together, of course, a carry bag will fit your detector and all your accessories. The traditional padded style bag has a zipper pocket. The hole detector will fit in there without having to break it down all the time. You just shorten up the rod, it slides in, and you can put all your accessories and books in there too. The hard cases require a much more disassembly. They're more for airline type travel. The padded gun style bag is your better everyday type case.
White's MXT and MXT Pro, easy to use and high performance. Visit us on the web at www.whiteselectronics.com.